The sound of my sister-in-law's laughter drifted through the kitchen door, stopping me dead in my tracks. I'd come downstairs to grab my EpiPen from my purse, a habit I'd developed after years of living with a severe nut allergy, when I heard Diane's voice, dripping with malice. "I ground the almonds so fine she'll never notice," she said. "Mix them right into the frosting and the cake batter. One bite, and the princess goes to the hospital." My hand froze on the door handle. Through the crack, I could see Diane talking to her mother, Patricia, while putting the finishing touches on what was supposed to be my 30th birthday cake. Patricia's response made my blood run cold. "Diane, that could kill her." "Oh, please," Diane scoffed, adding another rosette to the elaborate 3-tier creation. "She's so dramatic about that allergy. Last Christmas, she made such a fuss about the appetizers having pine nuts. It's probably not even that serious. But when she has a reaction at her own birthday party, maybe Nathan will finally see what a high-maintenance drama queen he married." Nathan, my husband of 4 years, the love of my life, and Diane's younger brother. The golden boy who'd chosen me over the string of socialites Diane had tried to set him up with. She'd never forgiven me for that. "Then everyone will see how dramatic she is," Diane continued, stepping back to admire her handiwork. "And when she's gasping for attention on her birthday, making everything about her medical emergency, Nathan will realize he made a mistake. Mark my words, Mom. By next year, he'll be divorced and dating someone who doesn't treat every meal like a life-or-death situation." I pressed my back against the wall, my mind racing. Diane hadn't just put nuts in my cake. She'd weaponized my allergy, turned it into a tool to humiliate me and destroy my marriage. The cake sitting on that counter wasn't just a dessert. It was a potential murder weapon disguised in buttercream and fondant. But as the initial shock wore off, something else took its place: cold, calculated fury. Diane had made a crucial mistake. She'd assumed I was already in the garden with our guests, safely out of earshot. She had no idea I'd heard every word of her confession. I slipped back upstairs silently, my brain already formulating a plan. Diane wanted drama? She was about to get more than she bargained for. 20 minutes later, I stood in our backyard, surrounded by 50 of our closest friends and family. The garden was decorated with twinkling lights and white roses. Nathan had insisted on making my 30th birthday special. He stood beside me, his arm around my waist, completely unaware that his sister was planning to send me to the emergency room. "Time for cake," Diane announced, emerging from the house with her deadly creation. She'd changed into a designer dress and freshened her makeup, clearly wanting to look her best for what she assumed would be my downfall. The cake was admittedly beautiful. 3 tiers of perfect white fondant decorated with delicate sugar flowers. No one would guess it was laced with enough ground almonds to trigger anaphylactic shock. "I made it myself," Diane announced proudly, setting it on the table in front of me. "From scratch. Every single ingredient." She emphasized the last words, her eyes meeting mine with a challenge. "How thoughtful," I said sweetly. "You know, Diane, before we cut the cake, I wanted to share something special with everyone." Nathan squeezed my hand, smiling. He thought I was about to thank our guests or make some heartfelt speech. The crowd quieted, gathering closer. "As many of you know," I began, my voice clear and steady, "I've lived with a life-threatening nut allergy my entire life. It's required constant vigilance, careful planning, and the support of people who truly care about my well-being." Diane's smile flickered slightly. This wasn't the reaction she'd expected. "Which is why," I continued, pulling out my phone, "I was so touched when I accidentally overheard Diane in the kitchen earlier, talking about the special ingredient she added to my birthday cake." The color drained from Diane's face. "Mia, I don't know what you think you heard." "Oh, but I recorded it," I said pleasantly, hitting play on my phone. I'd managed to start recording just seconds after hearing her confession, capturing everything. Diane's voice filled the garden. "I ground the almonds so fine she'll never notice. Mix them right into the frosting and the cake batter. One bite, and the princess goes to the hospital. Then everyone will see how dramatic she is." The silence that followed was deafening. 50 people stared at Diane in horror. Nathan's arm had gone rigid around me, his face transforming from confusion to rage. "But here's the interesting part," I continued, my voice still calm. "Diane assumes my allergy isn't serious, that I'm just being dramatic. So I thought we should test that theory." I picked up the cake knife. "Diane, since you made this cake with such love and attention to detail, you should have the first piece. A big one." I'm not hungry," she stammered. "Nonsense. You spend hours on this. Nathan, honey, cut your sister a nice big slice. Make sure she gets plenty of that frosting she worked so hard on. Nathan's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. He understood immediately what I was doing. Of course, sweetheart. He cut a generous portion and held the plate out to Diane. Eat it. Nathan, this is ridiculous. Eat. AITA. His voice was deadly quiet. You put almonds in my wife's birthday cake. You tried to trigger her allergy. So either her allergy is dramatic and you'll be fine, or you just attempted to murder my wife. Which is it? Patricia stepped forward. Diane, what have you done? She's always seeking attention. Diane burst out. Always making everything about her allergies, her special needs. I just wanted to prove. That you're a psychopath? My best friend Emma interjected. Because that's all you've proven. I held up my hand. Here's what's going to happen. Diane, you have two choices. Option 1. You eat that cake, and we see how dramatic nut allergies really are. Of course, I should mention that unlike you, I'm not a monster. My EpiPen is right here, and we'll call 911 the moment you show any reaction. Diane was shaking now. What's option 2? Option 2. You admit, in front of everyone here, that you knowingly tried to poison me. Then you leave. Not just this party, you leave our lives. No more family dinners, no more holidays, no contact with Nathan or our future children. Because yes, Diane, I'm pregnant. 12 weeks. We were planning to announce it after the cake cutting. The gasps from the crowd were audible. Nathan's hand found mine, squeezing tight. We'd kept the pregnancy secret, waiting for the second trimester, but this seemed like the perfect moment to twist the knife. You tried to poison a pregnant woman, I continued. Your own sister-in-law. Your brother's wife. The mother of your future niece or nephew. Diane's face crumpled. She looked around wildly for support, but found only disgusted faces. Even Patricia had stepped away from her daughter, horror written across her features. I'll go, Diane whispered. Louder. And be specific about what you're admitting to. She raised her chin, tears streaming down her face. I put ground almonds in the cake knowing Mia was allergic. I wanted to trigger a reaction. Why? Nathan's voice was broken. Why would you do this? Because she changed you. Diane exploded. You used to put family first. You used to listen to me. Then she came along with her allergies and her dietary restrictions, and suddenly everything revolves around her. No, Nathan said quietly. Everything revolves around keeping my wife safe. That's what you do when you love someone. You protect them. You don't try to kill them because you're jealous. I turned to address the crowd. I'm sorry you all had to witness this. But I couldn't let it happen in silence. How many times might Diane have accidentally exposed me to allergens? How many close calls were actually deliberate? This needed to be exposed. Our friend Marcus, who happened to be a police officer, stepped forward. Mia, this is attempted assault with a deadly weapon. You need to file a report. I nodded. I will. But first, I picked up the beautiful, deadly cake and walked to the garbage bin. This goes where it belongs. The 3-tier monstrosity landed with a satisfying thud in the trash. Several people applauded. Now, I said, turning back to our guests with a genuine smile. The good news is, I always have a backup plan. Emma grinned and headed inside, returning with a cake from our favorite nut-free bakery. I picked this up this morning, just in case. Mia knows I never trust other people with her birthday cakes. As Emma set the safe cake on the table, Nathan pulled me close. How long have you known? He whispered. About an hour. I'm sorry I didn't tell you immediately, but I needed her to admit it publicly. No more gaslighting, no more accidents. He pressed his forehead against mine. You're brilliant. And terrifying. And I love you so much. Even though I'm high maintenance about my allergies? I teased weakly. Especially because you're careful about your allergies. It's kept you alive to marry me and have our baby. The rest of the party was subdued, but filled with a strange warmth. Our real friends and family rallied around us, sharing stories about their own experiences with food allergies and the people who didn't take them seriously. Patricia apologized repeatedly, mortified by her daughter's actions. Diane was arrested 2 hours later. Attempted poisoning, assault with a deadly weapon, and reckless endangerment of a pregnant woman. The recording I'd made, combined with 50 witnesses to her confession, made it an open and shut case. The trial was swift. Diane pled guilty to avoid a harsher sentence, receiving 2 years in prison and a permanent restraining order. She lost her job at the pharmaceutical company, Turns out they weren't keen on employing someone who used medical conditions to harm others. But the real justice came in smaller moments. Nathan cut all contact with his sister, choosing our safety over family harmony. Patricia underwent allergy awareness training and became an advocate for food allergy safety. Our friend group grew even tighter, bonded by the shared experience of witnessing how quickly jealousy could turn deadly. 6 months later, I gave birth to our daughter, Lily. The first time Patricia held her granddaughter, she cried. "I promise," she whispered. "I'll keep her safe. Always. From everyone." We named Emma as Lily's godmother, the woman who'd thought to buy a backup cake just in case. Because that's what real family does. They protect each other, prepare for contingencies, and never, ever put each other in danger. Diane sent a letter from prison once, full of self-pity and accusations. I burned it, unread beyond the first line. Some people don't deserve forgiveness. Some actions can't be undone. And some birthday parties, no matter how dramatically they unfold, end up being exactly what you needed. My 30th birthday will be remembered not for the cake I ate, but for the cake I didn't. For the sister-in-law who tried to kill me and the husband who stood by me. For the moment I stopped being polite about my boundaries and started being ruthless about my safety. And every year since, on my birthday, Nathan makes the same toast. To Mia, who turns every attempt to bring her down into an opportunity to rise higher. And who knows that the best revenge isn't served cold, it's thrown in the garbage where it belongs. The cake knife from that day sits in our kitchen drawer. I use it regularly, a daily reminder that the most dangerous people are often the ones who smile while they poison you. But also a reminder that knowledge, preparation, and the courage to speak truth can turn any weapon against its wielder. Diane thought she was baking my downfall. Instead, she baked her own. And unlike her cake, that's a recipe I'm happy to share with anyone who needs it. 1 part vigilance, 2 parts courage, and a generous helping of refusing to be anyone's victim. Bon appetit! Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.